Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video, where we'll dive deep into one of the most influential books in the world of finance and business, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by the renowned author and investor, Robert Kiyosaki. This book isn't just a collection of conventional advice. It's a direct invitation to reprogram your financial mind and break free from the constraints of traditional thinking. Have you ever wondered why some people start from nothing and amass huge fortunes, while others inherit great wealth and end up broke? The answer lies in the core concept Kiyosaki emphasizes from the very beginning. Wealth is a mindset, and poverty is a mindset. This simple idea is the cornerstone upon which everything we learn today will be built. Robert Kiyosaki shares his personal story with two influential fathers in his life. His biological father, Poor Dad, who was a highly educated man with advanced degrees but struggled financially throughout his life and died, leaving debts. And his adoptive father, Rich Dad, his friend Mike's father, who didn't complete high school but became one of Hawaii's wealthiest men, leaving behind a fortune and charitable organizations. Both were intelligent and worked hard, but their financial advice was vastly different. Poor Dad said, "Money is the root of all evil." Rich Dad said, "The lack of money and poverty is the root of all evil." Poor Dad said, "I can't do that." Rich Dad said, "How can I do that?" Poor Dad advised, "Study hard to find a good company to work for." Rich Dad advised, "Study hard to find a good company to buy." Poor Dad said, "Stay safe." Rich Dad said, "Learn to manage risk." These contradictions made Robert realize that poverty is a mindset that condemns you to eternal struggle, while bankruptcy can be just a temporary setback that can be overcome. And that striving for wealth is not a fault, but a legitimate ambition. Rich Dad taught him 6 simple yet life-changing lessons. Let's explore them in detail. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. This is the most crucial and perhaps shocking lesson in the book. Kiyosaki opens it with his question to Rich Dad, "How can I become rich?" He replied, "If you want to be rich, you have to learn how to make money. And to do that, you have to use your mind." Robert and his friend Mike started their first project by collecting discarded aluminum cans. After gathering enough, they tried to melt them down and make counterfeit coins, which, of course, angered Robert's biological father, who told them it was illegal and advised them to go to Mike's father to learn. When the boys went to Mike's father, Rich Dad, he offered them a job at his store for 10 cents an hour, for 3 hours every Saturday. The boys agreed, and their learning journey began. Initially, Robert felt bored and exploited. He would take his meager pay, spend it quickly, and then impatiently wait for Saturday to return to the boring job. He told his biological father about it, who advised him to demand a raise or quit. When Robert went to meet Rich Dad, he was furious. But Rich Dad listened calmly and then said, "You think like most people. They decide the pay isn't worth the effort. They complain. Then they quit to look for another job. Or they accept the status quo. and just keep working for money. He then added, chasing jobs and spending your life accumulating money is what keeps people in debt and poor their entire lives. And here, he revealed the essence of Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. Money works for them. How did this happen? Rich Dad offered the boys to work for him for 3 hours every Saturday, but without any pay. Robert was shocked, but he agreed, and so did Mike. They continued working for free for 3 weeks. After that, Rich Dad met with the boys and talked to them. He asked them how they felt about working for free. Then he offered them 25 cents an hour, which they refused. Then $1 an hour, which they also refused. Then $5 an hour, which was a huge sum for a child at that time. Despite the strong temptation, the boys refused again. This is when Rich Dad explained the rat race, or the job trap. He said people fall into this trap due to 2 primary emotions. Greed, the desire to own the best and brightest things. Fear, the fear of losing those things once acquired, or the fear of not having enough money. The difference between the rich and the poor is their reaction to these 2 emotions. The poor respond by seeking a secure job, fear of poverty, and putting in more effort to earn more money to buy more, greed. The rich, however, think and search for ways to make money work for them instead of chasing it. Since Robert and Mike understood the lesson well, their minds started working on creating a project to apply this concept. They asked permission to use some free magazines that weren't allowed to be sold from the store. They set up a small children's library under the house stairs, arranged the magazines, and offered children the chance to read for 2 hours for only 10 cents. Thus, their project started generating a lot of money, and they even enlisted Mike's younger sister to be the librarian for $1 a week. They were then earning $9 every week without even working themselves. In summary, Lesson 1 emphasizes that wealth isn't about how much money you earn from your job, but about how you use your mind to create systems and assets that make money work for you, instead of you working for money your entire life. Lesson 2: Why financial literacy is taught. The phrase that summarizes this lesson is, "The rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities." This seemingly simple sentence holds the key to wealth. To understand this lesson, we must differentiate between assets and liabilities. Asset: anything that puts money in your pocket. Liability: anything that takes money out of your pocket. The problem is that most people, including the educated, confuse assets with liabilities. The poor and middle-income individuals think their large house and luxury car are assets, when in reality, they are massive liabilities that consume a significant portion of their monthly income. Mortgage, maintenance, taxes, insurance, fuel. Robert Kiyosaki recounts how, when he acquired a good sum of money, he considered buying a luxury car for his wife. However, he remembered his rich dad's advice. He realized the car would be a liability, draining his money. Instead, He invested the money in an asset. 4 years later, that asset generated enough money not only to buy the car he wanted for his wife, but also to invest in other assets. This lesson exposes a fundamental weakness in the traditional education system. Schools don't teach financial literacy. They focus on producing competent employees who spend their salaries on liabilities. They don't teach individuals how to become minds capable of building businesses and owning assets that cover their expenses without them even spending their precious time on them. Although buying a home isn't inherently bad, the correct action for someone with a wealth mindset is to first find an asset to invest their money in, such that this asset generates income that can cover the mortgage payments and expenses of the home without consuming their entire monthly income. This breaks the vicious cycle of a salary that goes directly to liabilities and allows the individual to achieve real financial growth. In summary, wealth doesn't come from the amount of money you have, but from your understanding of how money flows and how to direct that flow to increase the assets that put money in your pocket and decrease the liabilities that take it out. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. To understand this lesson, Kiyosaki shares a short story about Ray Kroc, the founder of the McDonald's restaurant chain. One day, Kroc gave a lecture to MBA students at the University of Texas. After the lecture, he asked them a surprising question. Does anyone know what business I'm in? The students laughed, thinking he was joking, but he was serious. One of them confidently replied, "Of course, you're in the business of running McDonald's restaurants." Kroc laughed and replied, "My business is actually in real estate, and managing the restaurant chain is my profession." This information shocked the students. Here lies the crucial difference that Rich Dad wanted to convey. Profession, these are the skills you learn and apply to earn money. It's the job you hold: doctor, engineer, teacher, manager. Business, this is what you own and control. It's the assets that work for you and generate income. Many people spend their entire lives in a profession they don't love, just for the monthly paycheck. Rich Dad always insisted to Robert from a young age, focus on your own business alongside your profession. This doesn't mean you should quit your job immediately, but it means building something of your own, something that generates income even if you're not actively working in it. For example, your own business could be investing in rental properties, buying dividend-paying stocks, building your own commercial project, like the small magazine library Robert and Mike set up, developing intellectual property, books, software, inventions that generates royalties. The goal is to transition from being entirely dependent on your professional income, salary, to building other income streams through your own business. This grants you financial security and freedom, and it leads you toward true wealth. In summary, don't just rely on your profession for a living. Build your own business that generates passive income and increases your assets. Lesson 4. The history of taxes and corporate power. This lesson explores how the rich understand tax laws and use them to their advantage, while the poor and middle class fall victim to them. Kiyosaki talks about the financial Robin Hood concept, taking money from the ultra-rich and giving it to the poor. This idea was the basis for modern tax laws. Everyone voted for it, believing it would achieve social justice and only affect the rich. However, what actually happened was quite different. The rich, with their financial intelligence, found legal ways to navigate these laws. They started hiring accountants, lawyers, and financial experts to find loopholes and tax advantages. Over the years, taxes began to consume more from middle-income and poor individuals than from the rich. The career ladder, with its promotions and salary increases, became merely a series of tax traps for employees. The more their income increased, the higher the percentage taken by taxes, leaving them still struggling financially. The rich, on the other hand, don't chase salaries. Instead, they own corporations. The difference here is crucial. Employee earns money, pays taxes, then spends what's left. Corporation or business owner earns money, spends on business expenses and legal deductions, then pays taxes on what's left. Then the business owner spends what remains. This structure allows corporations to deduct many expenses, like travel, meals, cars, education, insurance, before calculating taxes, significantly reducing taxable income. The rich skillfully exploit these provisions. As a simple example, in America, there's a tax provision that allows a person who sells a property with the intention of buying another, more expensive property, or one that generates greater financial benefit, to be exempt from capital gains taxes on the profit made from the first property. This can save huge amounts of money. Taxes could be up to 35% of profits, and allows the rich to continuously grow their holdings instead of being constrained by the tax burden. In summary, financial literacy and understanding tax laws are not luxuries, they are necessities for wealth. The rich don't just accumulate money, they know how to protect that money from erosion by taxes and how to use laws to their advantage to grow their wealth. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. This lesson is about creativity and innovation in making money, not waiting for opportunities, but creating them. Kiyosaki illustrates this concept with two contrasting stories he saw on television. Program 1 was about the story of Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. When the demand for his invention grew and exceeded his small company's capacity, Bell approached the giant Western Union Company and offered them to buy his patent and his company to meet the increasing demand. But the giant company rejected his offer. Today, Bell's invention has become the foundation of the greatest fortunes in the 21st century. Bell had an idea and invented a way to make money. Program 2 was a news segment about an organization downsizing and laying off a large number of employees. These angry workers gathered outside the organization's gate, protesting. Among them was a 45-year-old man, fuming with anger and fear, begging the guards to give him a chance to speak with the company owners, because his life would be ruined if he lost his current job. What's the contradiction in these two scenes? Scene 1 tells the story of someone with an innovative idea through which they can make money, actively seeking to develop it. Scene 2 tells the story of someone who tied their life and family's future entirely to the state of a company that could collapse at any moment without warning. He waits for a job and a paycheck. Here lies the fundamental difference between the rich and the poor. The poor wait for opportunity to knock, while the rich create it from nothing. The poor work for money, and the rich invent ways to get it. Kiyosaki shares a personal example of applying this idea. In the early 1990s, when the economy was in a very difficult situation, Robert was looking for opportunities to buy real estate among bankruptcy cases and court proceedings. He found someone who wanted to sell their house for approximately a quarter of its original price, because they needed to pay off their debts quickly. Robert borrowed some money from a friend, promising him a small percentage after 90 days. He used the amount to pay a lawyer's fees and for an advertisement to sell the house. Soon, he was able to sell the house, paid $20,000 to the original owner, returned the borrowed amount to his friend, and made a significant profit without spending any noticeable amount from his own pocket. In summary, even in times of crisis and recession, the rich can achieve enormous profits due to their way of thinking and their ability to invent methods of making money. The rich understand that wealth does not depend on external circumstances, but on the ability to be creative and intelligently exploit available opportunities, or even create non-existent ones. The poor, on the other hand, will keep waiting for conditions to improve, opportunities to multiply, and money to fall from the sky before they start. And they will never start. Lesson 6. Work to learn, not just for money. Based on Lesson 1, which stated that the rich don't work for money, it's logical that the final lesson emphasizes the importance of work being an opportunity for learning and development, not just a means to earn money. This is arguably one of the most crucial lessons in the book, as it challenges the traditional view of a job. Rich Dad taught Robert that an individual should learn something from everything. Wealth does not come to someone who is unwilling to continuously learn and broaden their horizons. The rich don't focus on narrow specializations. Instead, they value skills not typically taught in traditional universities, such as sales and marketing, the ability to convince people of your product or idea, communication, building relationships and networks, leadership, the ability to motivate and manage others, business systems, how to build and operate a business effectively, accounting and finance, understanding numbers and how money flows. Robert Kiyosaki always asked his students, "Can any of you make a better hamburger than McDonald's?" Most of them would raise their hands. Then he would ask them, "So, why aren't you making more money than McDonald's if you can make a better hamburger?" The simple reason: they don't master business systems. McDonald's isn't the best at making hamburgers, but it's the best at building an effective business system. Marketing, supply chains, branch management, training, brand identity. This is where the rich have an advantage over the poor. The rich care about everything related to presentation, sales, and commerce, and they excel at sales and marketing. The rich don't disdain any knowledge or information that can take them out of their narrow specialization and enable them to achieve many successes. The poor, conversely, remain stuck in the confines of their limited specialization and refuse to learn anything outside their specific field. As an example, Robert told the story of a distinguished journalist with high academic degrees, yet her books weren't selling well. When she asked Robert for advice, he suggested she enroll in a sales course. However, the journalist didn't like the idea, considering it strange and outside her area of expertise, and she refused to follow his advice, even though he was a best-selling author. In summary, learning things outside your specialization doesn't mean abandoning your specific goal. Instead, it means reaching it more powerfully and gaining an added advantage that others with a poverty mindset don't possess. Seek out skills that increase your value in the market and help you build your own assets, even if they aren't part of your academic major. And that brings us to the end of our journey with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned some useful expressions and powerful ideas that can truly help improve your English, and maybe even the way you think about money and life. Remember, learning a language isn't just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about curiosity, understanding, and exploration. And books like this one open doors to new ways of thinking, while helping you build your language skills at the same time. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our upcoming episodes. We've got so many great books coming your way. Each one is a new adventure and a chance to learn in a fun and meaningful way. And hey, if there's a book you'd love for us to cover next, let me know in the comments. I read all your messages, and your support and ideas really mean a lot. Always remember, every minute you spend listening, reading, or even just thinking in English is a step closer to fluency. Keep going, stay curious, and don't forget, you're not alone. I'm right here with you, every step of the way. See you soon in another episode with a new book and a new step in our English journey. Bye for now.